I've never been gifted for the bench press. It's always been my worst lift, yet I still managed to bench 3 plates. A 3-plate bench might be very common among social media and elite lifters, but in real life it's extremely rare. And most people who go to the gym won't ever come close. This video goes over my entire journey from just over 1-plate bench press to a 3-plate bench press. The journey for me, unlike some people, was not smooth at all. In the beginning of my gym journey, I basically didn't film anything. This is me shoulder pressing 17 kilo per arm. I weighed around 60 kilo and was a very unexperienced lifter by this point. If I remember correctly, the first bench I did around 40 kilo as a max, but by this point I had worked up to a double on 73 kilo. This was the first bench press video I could find on my phone. It is from around middle of 2021. It also looks like I was very inexperienced at filming because I don't know what angle I'm getting here really. Around 1 month later, my newbie gains were still going strong. I did a triple on 80 kilo. I tried perfecting my form during this period a lot, but I still had a lot of improvements to go. During this time, I was also in a quite heavy bulk. I realized quite early on in my lifting career that if I wanted to get my lifts up, I would also need to weigh more. Around 3 months later, I did my first official bench max out, where I achieved a bench of 92.5 kilo. Now, looking back at this, it's extremely impressive, considering I, at this point, was around 14 years old, weighing a little under 70 kilo. Further in the video, this progression is not linear at all. Around a few weeks later from that last video, I did 95 kilo, and by this point I felt unstoppable. It felt like 100 kilo was just another 2 weeks away. Eventually I got the 100, and as I was in a commercial gym, I couldn't get my excitement out, so I kinda just stood up very quickly. Through this period, I continued to bulk up a lot. This video I weighed around 74 kilo-ish, and my bench progression also increased with the weight. This is 105 and it moved very easily. During this period, I also got very conscious about perfecting my form even more. I did film a lot from the back. In this video, for example, you can see my arms are very uneven, so that was among the things that I tried to change. 3 months later, I finally started at a powerlifting gym. And my friend here, the first day, convinced me to go for a PR. And this is still, years later, my grindiest bench rep. My bench continued to progress. This was 1 month later and I hit 110 kilo. This was a very big milestone. I was around the 100 to 110 range for very long. Through this progression, I had gained a lot of confidence in my lifting capabilities, so I finally decided to enter a powerlifting competition. In reality, this was way too late, and for new lifters, I would suggest that you enter a powerlifting gym and the competition probably as soon as possible. I learned a lot through this, especially having control on the way down, since in this competition I had quite long press signals, so my bench kind of stagnated. This was a failed bench on 110 and I was very disappointed in myself after this. I had also at this point reached my weight class of around 83 kilo. After that competition and after joining a powerlifting gym, I decided to focus a lot more on the past bench press and control through the whole motion. I also filmed from some quite weird angles, and as you could see through the bulk, I had not bought new clothes. But anyhow, this 105 for 2 past reps moved very great. Around 2 months later from the last clip, This is 110, and this was officially a new post PR for me. After that, I had gained a lot of confidence in my bench strength. Here is my dad spotting me for a 120 kilogram PR touch and go. Benching this was also a massive achievement for me, but the progression after this, as you can see later in the video, is gonna slow down a lot. This was a failed 125 kilo touch and go PR, but this was also after a squat PR. After this point, unfortunately, I had convinced myself that I had a shoulder injury. I got too in depth in my form, which meant I tried to press from angles which didn't work at all, which caused me to get a shoulder injury. I was back bench pressing, and I had gained a lot of strength in a very quick period. Also, as a stark contrast from my early lifting career, from the competition to this, my weight had stayed around 83 kilo the whole time. I had a very good bench period around this time. I steadily increased my 2 rep post max by 2.5 kilo every week. So this was the week after. A little wobbly, but it moved up. Since I was going on a very long vacation and I had steadily increased my 2 rep post PR, I had the brilliant idea of doing a 1 rep post PR. And also, this would be my touch and go PR as well. And as you could see, it moved great. But here is kind of where the plot twist is in the whole story. During the vacation, I continued to train. This gym was by far my least favorite. This bench was too low on the ground. I guess the people in Peru are short, so it makes sense. But for me, I couldn't get my leg drive at all. But anyways, this is 80 kilo for a lot of reps. And also in another gym I tested, this is 100 kilo. Supposedly, it felt a lot lighter, and these weights are definitely not calibrated right. But at least the music in this gym was very good. This was also at a extremely high altitude, around 3,600 meters I think. So I got very tired from these sets, but it didn't seem to affect my bench capability at all. Now after that, we went on a very long hike, around a 10-day hike in which there wasn't any gyms. So instead I did a lot of push-ups instead. But here is what caused all of the trouble in the next year and a half. During the hike, I got extremely altitude sick and normally sick, which meant, as well as being dizzy and throwing up, I also had a fever and no appetite at all. That caused me to go from around 85 kilo at the start of the hike to 79 kilo at the end. This is in a powerlifting gym in Lima, where I could just do 2 reps. So from those uncalibrated plates in that one gym, where I did around 4 sets of 6 reps on 100, here I could just do 2 reps for 1 set. When I got home, I also had another shoulder injury. This time it was the rotator cuff, so I started climbing instead, like a lot of retired athletes. And it kind of helped me to recover my shoulder actually. Around 3 months later, I was back in the gym and still extremely conscious about my form. While you may look at this and think it's completely fine form, at this time I was so conscious and so perfectionist that I looked at this and thought I was too uneven and I had to change how I benched completely. You can see me stretching there in the end because I was still so conscious about my shoulder and I was afraid that I was going to hurt it again. Which, you can see this video, which I did. This is the longest pause in bench training that I had throughout my whole lifting career so far. From that video to this video, there is around a 5-month pause where I didn't bench press at all and only did rehab. At first, the shoulder injury wasn't bad at all, but through my rehab, I went way too heavy in my rehab, which caused the shoulder injury to actually get worse. But I was back benching here. This was also right before a vacation, but during this time I took it way lighter than I did in the past rehab phases where I built up. I did 4 sets of 10, increasing 2.5 kilos, starting at 60 kilo. So this was a few weeks into benching again. And after enough time of increasing my bench by 2.5 kilos each week, I had enough confidence to go for a semi-heavy bench again. So this is me doing my first 100 kilo bench in around a year. And it went very smooth. During the shoulder injury, luckily enough, I had the ability to train my upper body a lot, which caused me to gain a lot of muscle on my upper body. A few weeks after that, I continued to build up my bench, doing heavy single each week, and after a few weeks, I did this single on 120, which moved great. And at this point, I was expecting to get 140 within a few months or so. This 122.5, a double PR, moved great. But you can still see I'm a bit uneven, but I'm not as conscious about my form than I was all those years back. After not enough time and a cut from around a peak of 95 kilo to under 83 kilo, yes, I know, how the fuck did I let myself go that far up? And I don't know. After enough time, I had gained enough confidence to enter a powerlifting meet again. And here I did 115 at my most. And then I raised my bench to 130 for a third attempt, but I failed it miserably. But around this point, I would say my max was 125 where I paused. Around 1 month after that, I had gotten a coach and planned my next competition, which was a kind of middle mark for nationals. And for that competition, I did heavy single each week, which helped my bench a lot. So here I hit 127 for a very easy single and 120 for 3, which was a triple PR. One week before the past PR on 130, my day form fluctuates a lot, but this day it was like at the peak what it could have been. Now the competition, I did a video on this where I went over the whole competition, but I'll make it fast. I got 135 extremely easy. I also puked a lot before this, and I thought I had 140, and I got very overconfident in that I would get 3 plates, 140 kilo. And so I lost focus a bit and failed it, unfortunately. But the 135 moved great, so I was still happy about this. And this was my bench yesterday. A double past PR on 127.5, which moved great. I still can't call myself a 3-plate bencher yet, but I can confidently say that I have the strength for it. This was my bench progression of around 3.5 years. Hopefully in the next few months I will get 140 or 3 plates and make a video about that. But anyways, remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye.